Hello, magic seekers. Welcome to Freyja's Enchantments, where we weave myth, magic, and tarot into our everyday lives. And if you're new to this channel, welcome to our cozy corner and hit that subscribe button to join our curious community. Today, we will be talking about the history and powers of the four elemental spirits. So let's get into it. Did you know that Western mysticism describes four hidden spirits within the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water? These beings, the salamander, the undine, the sylph, and the gnome, have been whispered about for centuries, and today it's my pleasure to introduce them to you. To understand these spirits, we have to go back in time to the 1500s, to the time of Paracelsus. Paracelsus was a Swiss physician, alchemist, and mystic. And he believed that the world was alive with these invisible forces that guarded the secrets to healing and wisdom. He even changed his name to reflect his radical approach to knowledge, wanting to go beyond the limitations of traditional medicine. In his book, the Book of Nymphs, Sylphs, Pygmies, and Salamanders, he introduced the idea of elemental beings that were made of and lived within the four classical elements. He said that these beings were the purest form of that element, and that God created them so that no part of the natural world was empty. Paracelsus claimed that these elementals carried vast knowledge of the past, present, and future, guarding it like treasure within the natural world. He said that they weren't immortal like angels, but they weren't mortal like humans either, and they lived alongside us, half seen and half unseen. Salamanders, fire spirits. So when you think of a salamander, you probably think of the little amphibian. However, in Paracelsus' time, they believed that salamanders could walk through flame. In Greek, salamander translates to fire lizard. And this belief most likely came from the fact that the salamander would lie dormant inside of moist logs. And when those logs would get tossed onto the fire, they would come scurrying out, giving the illusion that they were born from the flame. So they became symbols of the fire element. And the legend says they could either create or extinguish fire, survive within it, and they embodied resilience and purification. So as fire elementals, salamanders embody transformation, passion, and energy. They can ignite creativity or burn away what no longer serves. Undines, spirits of water. Undines are water spirits that flow within rivers, lakes, seas, anywhere that there's a body of water. And Paracelsus coined the name himself, coming from the Latin word unda, which means wave. Now, Paracelsus believed that these beings were beautiful, invisible, and human-like, and they lived entirely within the world of water. So the legend goes that an undine could gain an immortal soul if they married a human and had a baby. And this led to the undine's curse, which states that if that human is unfaithful, they would die, and the undine would have to return to the water. This mythology has inspired stories such as Frederick de la Montfouquet's Undine, which also led to Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid. So undines symbolize intuition, emotion, healing, and the subconscious, and they remind us to flow with the tides of our inner world. Sylphs, spirits of the air. Sylphs are air spirits that are subtle and elusive, and Paracelsus described them as these delicate beings that were mostly invisible, carried on the wind. Now, the word sylph most likely comes from the word silva, meaning forest, and the word nympha, meaning nymph. And they're usually imagined as these tall, graceful beings with wings made of such a fine ether, most humans cannot perceive them. Paracelsus believed out of all the elementals, The Sylph was the most human-like because they breathed air like us and they moved through the skies. This has even drifted into literature such as Georgiana Cavendish's 18th century novel, The Sylph, to fantasy works by Terry Brooks, The Magical Kingdom of Landover. So Sylphs inspire dreams, prophecy, imagination, and clarity of thought. So when a new idea strikes, like a sudden breeze or a whisper of guidance is heard on the wind, that's the work of the Sylphs. Gnomes, spirits of the earth. Gnomes are earth spirits that are guardians of the soil, stone, and treasure. And the word gnome most likely comes from the Greek term gnomos, which means earth dweller. Now, Paracelsus wasn't the first person to talk about gnomes, but he was the first person to classify them as earth elementals. And he described them as small, powerful beings that could move through solid earth as easily as humans move through air. And they were seen as protectors of minerals, roots, and plants. In Scandinavian folklore, it is believed that they are ancestral land guardians. And in Germany, clay garden gnomes are placed to protect crops and encourage a bountiful harvest. So gnomes embody stability, patience, abundance, and protection. So gnomes remind us to stay rooted to the material world and to honor and respect the earth that sustains us. So the elemental spirits are also archetypes, and they live within the collective unconscious. We can use these archetypes to see which part of our lives need attention. So maybe you're feeling overly emotional, or maybe you are struggling to be creative. You can't seem to find your imagination. Maybe you feel lost and you're just not able to feel grounded. Maybe you are losing all motivation and you don't know how to move forward. Whatever it may be, we can use these archetypes to help bring that balance back into our lives. If this is something you're interested in, I've created a tarot reading to help identify which archetype you should be following right now and how to work through this imbalance. If you're interested, I have linked this video in the comments and in the description. So please check that out and see how you can bring more balance into your life. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the elemental spirits. Remember, the elements don't just surround us, they live within us. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and share this with somebody who might be curious about this mythology. And to hear more mythology stories and how they came to be, follow Freyja's Enchantments and hit that subscribe button. May the magic guide you down your moonlit path. Have a blessed day.